We have a strong belief here that education should be one step ahead of industry. Educational research, design research should always inform industry and where it's going, and we try to keep abreast of what's happening in Russia. With that in mind, product design here at Britannica is not necessarily about traditional products. It's about service, it's about integrated technologies, it's about the social side of products, right across the digital aspects of future products. We cover service design, we look into what the product may be in the next 50 years. We always try and create designers that are describing the future and not designers that describe what is at the moment. Okay, we're unique in Russia because we are all practitioners. We have all been practitioners. We are not purely academic. We have been trained, of course, in the British academic model, but we all come from practice. So our grounding is in the real world, within business and within the design industry. And this is a fundamental difference from Russian education. The other thing that's different about Russian education is Russian education tends to be much more prescriptive without so much emphasis on creativity. You learn design as you would learn a craft process. You don't learn to develop creativity. You don't learn to develop inquiry. And these are fundamental for design. If you don't have these aspects as a human being, you can't be a designer. If you don't open your eyes to the world around you, you can never design for it. If you don't understand everything in that world and you're not curious about it, you can't be a designer. This is what we want to foster here. Be it digital or be it social, it doesn't matter. We're not just relying, or we're not just focusing on one aspect or an academic aspects of design. We're producing designers for the real world who can tackle real problems that may be social problems, that may be wicked problems that other ways of thinking have never been able to solve before. We face more problems now in this world that are complex and that are almost unsolvable, and we need new ways to think about them. We can't solve them by using the same thinking that caused those problems. So if you start to look at socio-political problems, then we can see that design has a role to play there as well. And in the future, we can see designers playing a bigger and bigger role throughout different roles in society. And this is what is important to teach young designers today, is that they can achieve anything through the way they think. Training thinkers. Well, the core skills that product design and industrial design students get here is, well, maturity. Maturity is fundamental to any student in any academic discipline. But they also gain a world understanding. They gain the ability to study problems and to look into them with a depth of understanding that allows them to solve them in mature and sensible ways. They also are able to future cast and to learn how to cope with problems that are emergent problems. Traditionally, we've seen students leaving Russia. I'm very happy to say that this is changing now. We're seeing growth within the design industry in Russia now, and we're seeing, as we are seeing, a general growth in industry because of import substitution. And with that in mind, we are now seeing more and more students staying in Russia and supporting each other to build a design community. We have, well, I guess about 20–30% of students are in practice set up by themselves. So they're, and they're designing within the higher echelons of business. So it's not that students are working in some back room, slogging away for peanuts. We've got students that are working with people like German Greb and amongst other people. So students are really pushing the way forward, and we're seeing students build a design community in Russia. And this is moving, this is expanding, and this is the most exciting territory that we have today. I think, is that design has got a place in Russia, and design has got an opportunity in Russia that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. The students that graduate from Britanska have a handful of competitors every year. Now, a student that graduates from a school in the UK in a design discipline has about 100,000 competitors on that day of graduation. So for our students, they've got fantastic opportunities. They just have to have the curiosity and the ambition to go for it. And I would say most of them do. We're very lucky here to have some of the best design students I've seen. And we're also very lucky here to have a very high percentage of young women in the industry. Globally, in design industry, there's a problem, and the problem is that we can't get enough women involved. Here, we're pushing women forward in the design industry, and they're leading the way, I'm very happy to say. Fundamentally, students who want to enter this course have to be curious about life. They have to want to make changes to life, and they should never start a question with, yes, but I can't. They should always start with, I'm going to. And they should be able to imagine a future that's a better place. In terms of qualifications, most Russian school leavers are qualified enough to come here. They need to be able to express themselves visually. Drawing is an aspect, but a student who's coming here for the first time should be able to communicate visually. They don't necessarily have to be the best. They don't have to be Leonardo da Vinci, but they should be able to communicate through drawing, communicate visually, and imagine a future. Creativity is fundamental.